Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Tech It Out with Vista, piano lessons for the blind. This should be an exciting new topic, something that we haven't ventured into before, but I'm certainly excited to have this topic today. And again, I see we have quite a few new clients that have joined us and wanted to welcome all of you. Our guest today is Mark Miller. He's founder of blindpianolessons.com. Welcome, Mark. Mark,
Thank you.
could you tell us a little bit about your journey with the piano and how that
Sure.
began?
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for having me, Bob. And thank you for all of your help, Lisa and Ryan, to facilitate this presentation. I'm delighted to be here. I started piano when I was 6, and I'm 12 now, so I've been playing about 6 years. And no, I started piano when I was 6, and I quit 3 times between age 6 and 16 because I wasn't getting boogie woogie, blues, Beatles, popular songs. I was just playing classical, right? But I happened to find a great jazz teacher at age 20 who really changed my life. And because of him, I got a gig with a band. We went to Grand Cayman Island for 6 months. It's pretty tough, but somebody had to do it. And I basically am in the music business, teaching and performing because of my knowledge of chords and concepts. So my whole shtick is let's learn chords from day one. Chords meaning 3 or more notes played together, and then concepts, which are lifelong. We'll get in depth on all of this, but basically, my jazz teacher at age 20 changed my life, and so I've been teaching for 4 decades now, basically, and refining my system. I have been doing distance learning since my daughter was born in 2002. So I've been teaching students around the world on Skype primarily, but also over traditional phones, and have really refined a system over 20 years. If you go to blindpianolessons.com, you can hear more about my philosophy, but my main site is pianoweb1word.com. I have over 400 instructional videos, 500 audio podcasts, and over 5,000 arrangements I've written over the last 4 decades. So this is my passion. I love teaching. I love showing students the patterns in music because music is extremely patterned, and can't wait to get into it a little deeper.
Well, great. Could you go ahead and tell us a little bit about how and why you started
Sure.
piano lessons for the blind.com?
Sure. Actually, beginning this year, I got a couple of new students, Louise, who's 10, fully blind, and Owen in Tennessee, who's fully blind. And I started to think about, and I've taught maybe a dozen over the last 20 years. Actually, my first blind student had the use of just her right hand in England back in 2006 or 7. But anyway, I started to think about, you know what? There's a lot of people who have visual impairment, and I have a unique system. And it's just so rewarding to bring music into people's lives who wouldn't ordinarily think they could play. And, Louise, who's 10, and Owen, who's 12, kind of the catalyst. I thought, you know what? Let me see if I can build a website dedicated to teaching blind students piano. Some of the best, pianists ever were blind. George Shearing, Ray Charles, Art Tatum, Stevie Wonder, Diane Shure, right? Lenny Tristano. So that was the impetus, basically, or the catalyst. Louise, who's 10, she comes to my house every other week for an hour lesson, and she's actually on blind piano lessons, playing a couple of songs. Just I just love her to death. I could teach her 10 hours a day. She's like a sponge. So yeah, I thought let's go for it. Let's really get the word out there and see if I can change the quality of life for some people.
That sounds great. Could you tell us more about your system?
Sure. Thank you. So basically, I call it the 3 C's. I teach chords, and I teach concepts, and that can lead to creativity. Okay, so basically, let me walk you through maybe the first lesson or so, very briefly. So basically, this would be left hand only, and I would teach you the first 3 chords. They're all white notes. It happen to be C major, F major, and G major. Okay, so basically with those 3 chords, you can play Louis Louis, right? So it's all about applying the chords. It's not just some pedantic drill. So that's what I call group one, all white notes. Then we go to group two, which happens to have a sharp in the middle. It's a D major, E major, and A major. Okay, and then group three is what I call Oreo cookie chords, right? Black, white in the middle, black on top, like an Oreo cookie. D flat, E flat, and A flat. And then the final group, there's no common color characteristic. It's F sharp, B, and B flat. Okay, so I might like to make the analogy. When you learn to read, perhaps Dr. Seuss, you learn the word cat, rat, sat, fat, right? You change one letter, you get a whole new word. That's what we want to do with the chords. Once you get C major, then if you change one note, you get C minor. If you have F major, just change one note, you get F minor. So once you get your 12 major triads like your name, C, F, G, D, E, A, D flat, E flat, A flat, F sharp, B, B flat. Then you can learn three of the other four triads, triad being a 3-note chord. You can learn three of the other four triads by just moving one note. So that's the foundation. Get the majors like your name. Change the middle note, you get minor. Change the top note, you get augmented. And then sus4. Okay, so basically majors, minors, augmenteds, and sus4s. 48 chords. With those 48 chords, you can play hundreds of songs. Hundreds of songs. And the cool thing is, you're playing 3 notes in the left hand. You're only playing one melody in the right. Right? To play 4 notes simultaneously in the first lesson or so, that's huge. If you take traditional lessons, you're talking months before you can play, that big of a sound. And so that's my opinion why a lot of people have taken piano and maybe not pursued it or failed at it, so to speak, because it takes a long time to get a sound if you're studying classically, right? There's all these dots, treble clef, bass clef, et cetera, okay? So the foundation is chords. You get your triads, all 60 of them, in a lesson or two, and guess what? They'll never change. So now let's play some songs, whether it's Yesterday by the Beatles or okay. So it's all about patterns, right? And we learn by patterns. Okay, I don't know if that answered your question or not, but that's the foundation, the chords. Okay, then once you get your chords, then we talk about concepts. Okay, concepts are lifelong. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. I don't have to unscrew something from the wall every day. I know that concept. Okay, well, the concept of to make a major chord minor, you lower the third. Right, that's a concept. Once you understand that, you can play any minor chord if you know the major. Okay, so again, in classical, sounds like I'm bad mouthing classical, but it is really a longer road. When you're reading notes on the page, they're just these dots and they're just letters, but actually they're chords being broken up. That's an A minor chord being broken up. But as a teenager, playing that, it was all these separate notes. No, it's a chord. It's another chord. Okay, so we learn by patterns, and all Western music, all music is really based on chords. It's either being broken up or played simultaneously, but it's basically they're chords, right? So now I can look at a piece by Beethoven or Chopin or Liszt and realize, oh, okay, that's what's going on there. I understand. I'm getting groups of notes. Right? That's not 6 separate notes to me. That's one chord, A minor, which I've been playing for decades. So it expedites the learning, it expedites the memorization, etc. Okay, so that's kind of the first lesson. You would learn all of your triads in first or second lesson, right? And then we have these patterns in music. Okay, it's extremely exciting to teach. We have what I call it drop the pinky, 4 minor chords in a row. So if I have a minor chord, in this case it happens to be E minor, could be any minor. If I play E minor and I drop my left hand pinky, this is being played by the left hand, E minor, if I drop my left hand pinky a half step, 4 in a row, that is an extremely ubiquitous chord pattern. It's almost in every song. So for example, here's a few songs that use that technique of drop the pinky. Chim Chiri. Here's another one. Blue skies. Right? How about, I don't know. Stairway to Heaven. Right? They all use this chord pattern of drop the pinky. And by the way, that's very easy for a beginner from a dexterity standpoint. You're not jumping all around, you're just moving one finger. Right? So as a teacher, I'm looking for these songs that use these patterns. Right? Here's another one. Right? That's the same exact technique. I'm just taking the minor chord and dropping my pinky finger, and I'm getting 20 to 30 to 40% of the song. This depends on, here's another one. Feelings. Goes
So
on
Mark,
and on.
how do you teach us hand position so that we know where we are on the keyboard to be able to play those chords?
Thank you. Great question. So I have a system whereby middle C is like Staten Adams or 0-0. Any notes to the left of middle C are negative. Any notes to the right of middle C are positive. So if I said play the chord at C -1, that would be the first C below middle C. Or if I said play the note D2, that would be the second D above middle C. Okay, so it expedites where exactly on the piano we're going to play. We're going to play most of our chords in the -1 octave, just below middle C, because if we go down to -2 octave, it's totally muddy, right? And of course you would hear that. But excellent question. So yeah, that's my system for naming specifically on the piano where we're at. So negative is to the left of middle C, positive to the right. Yeah, and we're going to play the chords in the -1 octave because that's where they sound the richest without being muddy. Okay, so 4 minors in a row, dozens of songs that use that. Okay, so what song do you know the melody for? Is it Chim Chim Cheree? Is it My Favorite Thing? How about Stairway to Heaven? Right? That's the other component. You've got the left hand chords. We're going to look for patterns there. And then you have the right hand melody. Now, I teach several ways to teach the melody. Well, first of all, if you have a great ear, that helps, but it's not absolutely necessary. I have, like I said, we recorded over 500 audio podcasts. And so I will go through and say, like, for example, I'll just say the melody notes out loud. E, B, 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 nice and slow, right? And then tell you which chords to play with it. B, 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 B. So there's no Braille music notation, so to speak. Or if you're more at ease with perhaps a Word or PDF document, I would type out the letter names, literally E as a text. B, 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 right? So if you have JAWS or what have you, right, you can obviously read those letters out loud. And then, so yeah, the ear, the audio, and of course, the text. And I'm developing, it's in the process, I'm developing like my own Mark Miller Braille system for music, because Louis Braille was a musician. He was actually an organist and a cello player. And to my knowledge, I'm not visually impaired, but to my knowledge, what I've spoken with says if you understand Braille, Braille music notation is quite different and quite more difficult. So I'm like, come on, Louis, you're a musician. There's only 7 different letters. So briefly, one of my, my system would be, for example, capital letter E would indicate a quarter note, and then a lowercase letter like B, boy, would indicate eighth notes. So it'd be quarter, eighth, quarter, eighth, right? So I'm developing that system for, and Louise, my 10-year-old blind student, they have a, I guess an embosser, is that what it's called? Anyway, we'll be able to print out Chim Chim Cheree and a few other songs with my system. So I'm developing that, but I think it'll be more expeditious than Braille music notation. I could be wrong, but I think I'm on the right track. So that's basically how, or the mediums that I do teach students. Right, and I'm looking for example, just like the chords are patterned, right? Drop the pinky is used in hundreds of songs. Here's an example of the melody that just keeps repeating. Same exact melody repeats. Right? I just got a third of the song. So again, I'm looking for patterns where the melody repeats. The chords change, but the melody is still the same, right? then on the bridge, same thing, same melody, but in major. So that's a song I would love to teach someone who's visually impaired, because not only is the left-hand chords dropping the pinky pattern, but the melody is very repetitious, right? So that's the challenge that I actually love as a teacher, because right, everyone doesn't come to the table with a great ear, or maybe they, you know, what their background is. So patterned chords with minimal movement, and then melodies that are, first of all, very popular, beautiful, but also fairly repetitive, and not a lot of jumping around necessarily. Like this one jumps around, but once you get that hand position, you don't move, and that melody is played at least 4 times in the song with different harmonies. So I'm going to assume, Ryan, that we don't have any questions if I don't hear from anyone. But
Yes,
yeah, hopefully that's.
if you have any questions, you can just raise your hand. Mark's going to take questions as he goes along. We don't have to wait until the end. So if you have a question, please raise your hand.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all about chords and concepts. Now there's another pattern. It's basically 5 patterns in music, believe it or not, which you don't get if you're playing classical, right? They're dots on the page. Most classical teachers really don't understand these patterns, because you have to understand chords for them. So the first pattern I alluded to is drop the pinky. Right? Okay, so there's 30 songs that use that. What would you like to play? Another pattern that's extremely ubiquitous is what's called the 1-6-2-5 progression. So let me go a little deeper on that. If we're in the key of C major, many of you may know this, it's all white notes. Okay, that's the C major scale. Now we can build a chord on each of those 7 unique letters. So if we build a chord on the C, we go every other white note of the scale, and we get C major. That's called the 1 chord in the key of C major, because it's built on the first note. Okay, so the 1 chord is C major. If we build a chord on the second note of the scale, we go D, every other white note. That's how we build chords, every other white note, or every other note of the scale, excuse me. So the 2 chord is D minor. Right? To save time, E3 chord is E minor, F4 is F major, etc. Well, there's this pattern in music that's called the 1-6-2-5 progression, and I'll play a bunch of songs right now that use that. Basically, what that means is if you're in any key, you can play the 1 chord, the 6 chord, the 2, and the 5 back to the 1. Okay, so here's some songs that use that. Here's Try to Remember. So it's 1, 6, 2, 5, 1 to 6 to 2 to 5. Okay, that's half the song. There's another song that uses the exact same chords, 1-6-2-5. More from the movie Mondo County. Here's a jazz
Mark.
stand. Go ahead.
Mark, sorry, we have a quick question here. Are you available to take questions during the presentation, or would you like to wait until after?
No, during the presentation would be great. Thank you.
Perfect. Sherry, I see that you have your hand raised. I'll go ahead and ask to unmute you.
This is Sherry. Hi.
Hi, Sherry.
The question is, okay, so you have a subset of the music that specifically addresses specific chords that you identified. Is my understanding there's 88 keys to a piano? Is that correct?
That's true.
And so what subset of that do your chords cover? I guess the question is leading to, can your work be done on a keyboard versus a full piano?
Sure. Great questions. And I love the question because I was talking to my wife, you know, I've been playing piano since I was 6. So someone who hasn't necessarily played might look at 88 keys and go, oh my gosh, how can I master those? Well, there's only 12, and you may know this, but there's only 12 different keys on the piano. Okay, so And every major scale is just 7 notes total. So if I'm going to do any major scale, it's just 7 different notes, like D major. And it repeats, right? Every 8 notes or every octave, it just repeats the same letter. Okay, so the subset, to answer your question, are these major scales, and they consist of 7 unique letters, but that's it. Okay, some are black, some are white. C major happens to be all white for illustration. Okay, what was the second part of the question? I forget. Oh.
So can a person use a keyboard to take your class?
Sure. Yeah, in fact, most of my keyboards are 61 note. Unless you're playing Chopin or something very difficult classically, you're only going to use 4 or 5 octaves. So yeah, it's absolutely, all you need is 61 notes. You don't need 76 note keyboard. You don't need a full 88. Absolutely not.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, maybe you could tell us a little bit about keyboards. I know you mentioned it before we actually started the show. So
Sure.
maybe you could talk about some of the electronic keyboards that are available and those that you recommend.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said, years ago, Casio was considered a toy, but now they make a great product. I think they're a great, great for the money. So I would suggest Casio. It's a great entry level keyboard. Again, 61 note is a standard amount of notes for a portable keyboard. I happen to have 76 just because this is what I do, but rarely do I use all 76. So 61 notes, 5 octaves. Casio is a great value for the money. Of course, Roland, Yamaha, Korg, Kawai, all a little higher end than Casio, maybe even quite a bit higher end. But again, if you want to try lessons, you don't need to spend thousands of dollars, right? You can get a Casio for $200-300, I think, nowadays. And they're light. They have built-in speakers, built-in drum machine if you want that. Different sounds, right? Organ, piano, etc., etc. You don't need weighted keys. In a perfect world, weighted keys are great. Yeah, you'll build your finger strength a little bit faster. But again, all of my keyboards that I go out and do gigs, private parties with, are not weighted. They're fine. It's just 61 note, unweighted, built-in speaker, and then of course all of them have a input to put a headset if you want to practice in the middle of the night. So yeah, those would be my suggestions. I do own 1 Korg, 1 Roland, 2 Casios, and the Yamaha. So.
Is there a particular Casio that you would recommend?
Well, I own the W as in William, K as in Kraft cheese, WK 3300. But that's probably 5 years now, maybe, or longer. They've probably changed the model number. But WK 3300 is what I own. It's 76 note, but you don't need more than 61. So
Mark,
yeah.
And what
we
would
do have
something like that
another.
run?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bob.
I was just going to ask him, and how much does that Casio WK3300 run?
I have to look at my accounting books. I'm not sure. It's been a while, but I think I paid under 400. This was 5 or 6 years ago. Okay. So just like computers, they add features and they double their speed every whatever. So you can probably get a really good one now for 400. I would say, well, who just bought one? Someone just bought one. Oh yeah, I bought my wife a Yamaha 2 years ago. That was like $240, and that was a nice one. So I would say between 200 and 300 would be reasonable right now.
Great, thanks.
We do have a question from Barhane.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Mark, do these Casios have built-in other built-in instruments like the drums and other musical instruments?
Yes, they do. They have drums are built in. Yes, drum patterns and drums. I'm looking at my keyboard right now. They've got great organ sounds, xylophone. Yes, they have a lot of different instruments built in. Probably at least 50, I would say. Yeah.
Can you play a few of them right now, Mark?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Move my phone over to this is what it sounds on the Casio WK 3300. Hopefully I won't lose anybody here. Okay, so this is that's their piano sound, obviously. Let me pull this out further so I can see. Yeah, so if we go over here, let me see. It's been a while since I've played this. Hold on. Oh, wow. Okay, there's like a synth sound. All right, synth sound. There's so many different sounds here. Let me see if I can remember a couple. 1, 2, 1, 9. I think this is the electric piano. No. Oh, hope I didn't lose you. That was my. Is everyone there?
We're still here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Let me see.
Do you have a drum beat? Do you have drums?
Sure, yeah. All right, you can hopefully hear that. Let me see if I can go to the bank. 1, 2, let's see. Oh, there we go. Again, I use this to illustrate when I teach. I don't have the exact numbers for the electric piano, but when I go out and gig, it's this is what I bring. It's completely sufficient and good. So how do I get that?
Okay, Mark, one more question.
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
When you teach people who are visually impaired or blind, how would you tell them this is the first key, this is the C key by the sound or by counting the number of keys?
Great question. Great question. Yeah, to me, I'm learning about the nomenclature in the visually impaired community. Obviously, most people have probably heard of bump dots. To me, the piano is the perfect bump dot instrument. In other words, to answer your question, you will find a C note. Again, this is back to, okay, I'm assuming certain things because I played since I was 6. There's groups of 2 blacks. Oops, sorry. There's groups of 2 blacks on the piano and groups of 3 blacks, and then groups of 2 blacks and 3 blacks. Right? So the C is directly to the left of the 2 blacks. So I'll have students say 2 blacks C, 2 blacks C, right? Oh, locate all the C's. And F is to the left of the 3 blacks. 3 blacks F, 3 blacks F. So to answer your question, yeah, feel for the 2 blacks, which are obviously elevated, or in the 3 blacks, and that gives you the C and the F. That's kind of the benchmarks. And then, of course, between the C and the F is D and E, right? C, D, E, F.
Okay, so you don't have to count the keys, correct? Just the 2 blacks or the pair of black keys or the 3 keys, the black 3 keys, correct?
That's right. You don't have to count them. It's feeling, the 2 blacks and directly to the left is C. Every octave, right? And what have you. And after a while, you will kind of just feel the distance. But for now, in the beginning, if you're a beginner, that's what I would say. Okay, let's find all the C's. 2 blacks, C, 2 blacks, C, etc.
When you say 2 blacks C, what do you mean? 2 blacks ours are C, or there's a 2 blacks and a C chord?
Nope. We're just using, good question. We're just using the 2 blacks as a reference, right? A physical reference to find the C. It's not a chord. It's just can you find the 2 blacks? Feel the 2 blacks, and then directly to the left of the 2 blacks is a C. 2 blacks, C. 2 blacks, C. It's not a chord.
So directly to the left is the white key, correct? So you are referring to that as the C?
Yes, directly to the left of the 2 blacks is a white note, and it's C. Yes.
Okay, got it.
Mark, we do have a few more questions here. Thank you, Farhang.
Thank you.
Kit, go ahead with your question, Kit.
Kit, you'll need to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Hello.
Gotcha.
Hey, we can hear you now.
Sorry.
It's okay.
My question is, I have one of those gizmo, like what you're talking about. When they do the demo, they have all kinds of drums and gongs and mix a song.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, so when I play a single note.
Yes.
But they have different music to sound all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot do it like the demo. Is it manipulation of all the button together? Or how can the beginner learn it to sound like all the demo? They have
Sure.
violin,
Right.
they can play all kinds of song with like a band.
Yeah.
But I cannot make it like a band.
Mhm.
So it's frustrating. So
Sure.
how
Right.
can
Got
I
it.
make it sound more like at least 3 musical instrument, not just single person's instrument?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question. I mean, they're paying professional pianists, arrangers, to build a drum sound, or to add a drum and then a piano and then a bass and then maybe a guitar, right? So,
And then the violin.
yeah, exactly. So that part of it is a function of recording different tracks. And to be honest with you, I can do a little bit of that on my most expensive machine here. But
They record it and then add to it.
yeah, they record it and then you just hit a button and it's 3 or 4 different, what they call tracks, right? All played on top of each other. So there's no way you can play all of that as a human being with just 2 hands. Understand?
Okay, so they are not doing it on real time.
It's true.
First of all, they play some single note like a
Mhm.
violin,
Mhm.
and then they put that as a track. Then they add the piano to it, and they put it in a track, and then they
Precisely.
put a drum, a gong.
That's right. That's right.
That's
Exactly.
how to do it.
Yeah. You would have to be Hercules, Superman, Superwoman to do all of that simultaneously. No, they pre-recorded all
Okay.
those tracks. Yeah. Mhm.
That's
Right.
why I couldn't mimic what they did.
Right. Now some
How-
keyboards, go ahead.
Yeah. How many musical, how many things can you play in real time or at once? Is it
Sure.
just like a regular piano, a chord and the main
Right.
so
Right,
even
so-
in the keyboard, you can only do like in a real time 2 things, harmony and a main chord.
That's right. Yeah,
Oh.
harmony and a melody. So here's Misty. I'm going to play a 3-note chord in the left hand and a single melody in the right. All right, that's something you could expect to play in the first month or so. But I could also play 4 notes in the left hand. I could play 6 notes, 4 in the left, 3 in the right, or whatever. All right. So basically, depending on your hand size and what chords you know, you're not limited by 3-note chords. That's the start. That's month 1. But basically, right? There's all these other chords, 4-note chords, 5-note chords, all these different wonderful, beautiful harmonies. That's, but basically to answer your question, yeah, they're doing multiple tracks, drum on one piano, bass, guitar, melody, right? And so they put it all together and they go, oh, this is what your keyboard can do. That's true, but you have to be like a rocket scientist to do that, right?
But you
Mark-
could do, excuse me, but you could do the chord, the main tune, and the drum at the same time, because you can turn
That's true.
on your rhythm
That's
and
true.
then you can choose tune, right? Can you add a gong to it, make it 4 thing?
No, it would be relatively easy to record the drum track and then, chords and a melody live.
No, I don't mean by record, but you can do in a real time, you can.
Oh, right. Got it.
You
Yeah,
can turn on your drum,
exactly.
then you can play the melody and then
Yes.
the chord, those 3 things. But can you add the 4th thing to it in real time without recording?
Not to my knowledge, no, because you only have 2
Okay.
hands. Yeah,
Oh,
but you're right. Yeah, when I go out and gig, I've got the drum machine, which plays by itself. And
Right.
then I play my 2 parts on my chords in the left, melody in the right, basically. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
thank you, Kit. We're gonna go on to David. I saw that you had your hand raised and then lowered it and then raised it again. David, did you have a question, my friend?
Yeah, a couple of questions. So,
Hi, David.
hi. Everyone is different with their musical background and so
Sure.
on, and everyone, of course, is not young like your 10-year-old. How much practice time or study time, just
Right.
on average, would you say someone who's around your age need? And my second question is, have you ever tried playing blindfolded just to see what it's like for students?
Now that's interesting. Both good questions. Yeah. Okay. So the first question is how much time to practice? You know, we're not kids anymore. It's your time, it's your money. And basically you're gonna be motivated or you're gonna quit. So basically I would say if you're into it, an hour flies by, believe me, by the time you play your chords and your song. I would say an hour a day. And it's much better to do an hour a day than to say, okay, well, Saturday I'm gonna do 5 hours. No, it's what my teacher called spaced repetition. You don't give yourself enough time to forget. So even if you did a half hour a day daily, it's better than, Saturday for 3 hours. So I would say if you could get an hour in, that's fantastic. Every day, that'd be great. That would be the goal. Now to your point about playing with my eyes closed, of course, I don't have, I've had sight all my life, but I can picture all these chords. My eyes are closed now. I can picture any chord. Of course, again, I've been picturing them for 40 years, but I can picture any chord in my mind's eye.
Right.
If I were to do ragtime where I jump around a lot, that would be much harder. I could probably do it, but that's, the more you're jumping around, the harder it is. So that's kind of my philosophy with beginners. Let's minimize that movement so we don't have a lot of errors. But I had a student in Idaho. He told me he was blind and he lied, but he wanted me to teach him as if he was blind. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. Let's talk theory. That's another thing I want to present. A lot of piano teachers say, you're blind, you're visually impaired. Let's teach you play by ear. To me, I teach what I call theory, but I spell it THEAR, like the anatomical ear on our head, THEARY. The emphasis 70%, I would say, is theory, concepts, and then 30% ear. Yeah, some people have perfect pitch, but most people, the hardest part is finding the melody notes, right? So let's find melody notes that don't jump around a lot, but let's subordinate that left-hand chords because they're patterned, so you can focus on what's changing. What's changing every single song is the melody. Every single melody is unique. What's not changing, believe it or not, is these patterns, right? So let's get the left hand second nature so we can focus on that right hand melody, which is unique.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Patrice, I see that you have your hand raised.
Currently unmuted.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
I think this is brilliant.
Hand lowered.
I just want to say, I taught at UCSC in the music department for 30 years, teaching voice, but I had to play piano and chords every day to warm people up.
Oh.
What I'm really enjoying about your approach is that you're not doing inversion chords versus root chords, but I love the lower the pinky. I mean, this makes learning the piano really fun. And I couldn't see the keys, David, but I had to learn piano classically. And you can feel the patterns because of the black keys, the 2 and the 3 and the 2 and the 3 for each octave, as Mark had pointed out. But I just think this is fantastic. Actually, I hope my husband will do it because he wants to play piano, but he doesn't really want to learn all of that stuff, as he calls it. So this is fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. I really appreciate that. So you were a voice teacher, is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh.
And a singer. In fact, did someone say they volunteer for Opera San Jose on the call today? Anyway, I was one of the founding members. So I sang, did stage work before I had a degenerative condition. So while I could, I used the stage.
Sure. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Mhm.
Thank you for those comments and the compliment. Yeah,
My pleasure.
it's unfortunate that so many piano students. It sounds like I'm bad mouthing classical. I love the classics now because it's spices. It's the varieties and spice of life. But reading treble clef and bass clef at the same time is like French and Japanese. It takes a long time.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
So why not relegate that left hand to playing a symbol, right? Not dots, and therefore then we can focus and get to. We ultimately just want a great sound, right? So
Yep.
we want the chords. So wow, a million ideas going through my mind, but basically, anyone playing hotels, parties, bands, they know their chords. They can play classical, perhaps in addition, but they do know their chords. And music is so very patterned. Real quick comments. I went to Grand Cayman Island. I was 23, right? 6 months on the island. And the guitar player was a really good jazz guitar player from Berkeley. And he said, play something from memory, Mark. Now I'm 23. I started when I was 6. I could not play one song from memory. What? I could read. I could play my chords. I could sight read real well because of my classical, right? And I could do a little improv. But no one taught me the circle of fifths, 2 5 1s, 1 6 2 5. Drop the pinky, right? So in teaching, you want to learn something well, they say teach it. In teaching, okay, this is what this student needs. This is what this student needs. It's not, it's not Hal Leonard, turn the page, see you next week. It's what's going to make this student thrive. And so you appreciate that. You get it. Thank you.
I do, and I watched your or listened to your thing on blind abilities, and I liked how you introduced the circle of fifths without making it torturous. But anyway, I don't want to spend too much time, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Thank you, Patrice. Mark, we do have several other hands raised. Are you okay to continue on with questions?
Yes, can I just expound just a hair on the circle of fifths that Patricia brought up, because there's so many things I want to get to. The circle of fifths is the most powerful tool you could ever learn when learning music and harmony. And yet I didn't learn it till I was 23 or 25, whatever. But the teacher, I love quotes. This is a Richard Feynman, a Nobel physicist. He said, if you understand something well, you should be able to teach it to a 6-year-old. So if you go on the internet, and thank you for bringing this up, Patricia, if you go on the internet, you'll see 100 or maybe 1,000 videos on the quote circle of fifths. Okay, you'll see these letters on a circle, you go around, you go counterclockwise, clockwise. Is it up a fourth or down a fifth? No, let's learn it via a mnemonic. All you have to do to remember the circle of fifths, which is basically telling you chords move down by 5-letter names, is remember C chords go to F chords. Now the next 4 spell the word bead as in jewelry bead. B flat, E flat, A flat. Right? So if you can spell bead as in jewelry bead, B-E-A-D, you get 8 of the 12. So things like that expedite the learning. Right? Now I can play that song in any key because I know the circle like my name. C, F, flat bead, G flat, regular bead, regular G. So I just had to throw that in there because if I had one lesson with any new student, okay, Mark, you have one thing to teach me. Circle of fifths, what I call the true circle of fifths, because it's misunderstood by many. So yeah, thanks for letting me put that in there.
Yeah, of course. So we are running out of time. So I will get to the individuals. I'll try to get to the individuals that haven't had a chance to ask a question yet. Sherry Wu, I believe that this is your first question. Is that correct?
No, it is not. I will
Second. Okay.
pass on. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Marcia, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Marshall. Yes.
Okay, great. I cannot, you were so right when you're talking about the circle of fifths, which I had a piano teacher who did teach me that. And when I got to college and actually majored in that whole thing as an undergrad, I'll tell you what, that was the thing that saved my bacon every time. And when I took what they call the Alferus test, which is one of the hardest music placement tests and everything, I was able to score a 95% on that thing.
Wow.
Which is most people don't. And this is, freshman type. And I got a 95. And the only reason I didn't get even higher is because as the things, where they were doing rhythmics and everything, and it being that I couldn't read the rhythmics, everything started sounding kind of almost alike,
Uh-huh.
So it was, how can you read,
Rhythm.
and when I finally got to where I was reading Braille music, which, I did that even before that too. And I'm going, oh, I see what we did, and I can figure it out.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. What's the name of that test? I want to write it down. I never heard of it.
The what they call the Al Ferris music placement test that they give in some colleges. Brigham Young University being a real big, had that was their thing,
Interesting. Is that like ALFERR, Alferis?
I'm not sure how it's spelled. I wish I knew.
That's okay. I'll find it.
You'll have to Google that one.
No worries. Good.
No, I took that, and I was one of the few people that scored in the high 90s on that.
Bravo. Bravo. I'll
Thank
check it
you
out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcia. Okay, Miriam, I know that this is your first question. Go ahead.
And let me just interject. We've got about 30 minutes left.
Okay.
Hi, Marianne.
She's got to unmute.
Yeah, she's still working on it. Go ahead and try and unmute there, Miriam.
I'll mute.
Pause recording.
Miriam, we'll go ahead and continue on. I'll keep your hand raised, and then I'll look to see when you are unmuted, and we'll come back to you, okay? Okay. Farhang, I see that actually Sherry Wu had her hand up before you for her second question, Farhang, so I will go ahead and go back to her. Sherry, did you have another question, please?
Yes, thank you, Brian. The question I had was, could you go over what your class structure is? It wasn't clear. Are you selling audio subscription or online subscription to videos? Are you doing one-on-one classes? Are you doing small group classes? I'm just trying to understand the venue you're offering.
No, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, I have several ways I teach, mainly one-on-one over Skype or Zoom or telephone, traditional telephone lines. Most students take an hour every other week, gives them plenty of time to, to practice. And if you take real-time lessons, I ask for 2 hours a month minimum. And that includes access to my 500 audio instructional podcasts and my 400 instructional videos and 24/7 text to me of questions and my 5,000 arrangements, okay? And 40 years of teaching 20 distance. But I also recently added buddy lessons. Let's say you have a friend, a relative, a nephew, a brother, or mother, and you want to take, lessons with them, probably limited to 3 in the class, but 2 to 3 is ideal, I think. And of course, the hourly rate goes down. I do also sell videos. I have a student who has ADHD, and he's like, you know what, what do you charge for 3 videos or 5 videos? So I have a special in September. I normally get $100 for 3 videos, but this month it's 5. So a lot of different options, but mainly the best value is really the real time, because if you take an hour every other week, plenty of time to practice, and then I throw in the videos, so to speak. I'll send you 3 or 4 videos of the song you're working on, so you can have that as a reference 24/7, or the audio, what have you. Originally, I did the 500 podcasts audio only, thinking of my blind students, and I realized, well, duh, they can still hear the audio on the videos on YouTube. So, and the nice thing about, and many of you may know this, but I'm just going to say this, the nice thing about the YouTube videos is you can slow down the speed and not lose pitch. So if I happen to be teaching too fast, you can still learn at 75% speed or 50%. It's amazing. So yeah, a lot of options. You can start out I don't recommend this, but I have a couple students and I teach what I call flex lessons. You pick the frequency, once a month, once every 3 weeks, once a year, whatever works for you. So there's flexibility there. You might start out with flex, then go to every other week or vice versa. So thank you for bringing that up. I forgot about that.
Maybe
Thanks,
you could
Mark.
tell us about your
Thanks, Jerry.
introductory offer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Maybe you could tell us about your introductory offer.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. I'm looking at all my notes I want to get to. Thank you for that. Yeah, I offer free 30-minute, no obligation, piano lessons / consultation. This is my passion. I love doing this. I love bringing music to people who would ordinarily think they could play, or maybe they already play and they realize, wow, this is a much more expeditious way of playing. But it's not just rote. I want to emphasize, it's not just rote. You're going to understand the theory behind that, the names of those chords. You're going to understand the circle of fifths, not just, spell bead. Okay. So yeah, free 30-minute, no obligation, anywhere in the world, Skype, Zoom. Most of my blind students I teach just over the phone, with a speakerphone, traditional phone line. Yeah, and I think we're going to do a raffle. Is that right, Bob? Does everyone know
Yes,
about that?
Mark has graciously offered us 3 one-hour lessons, and so we'll auction those off, raffle those off, not auction them, raffle those off in a little bit. So,
Mark, can I ask a
I
question?
know you've,
Thank you.
you've
Hang
got,
on 1 second, Farhang. Go ahead, Bob.
Mark, I know you've got a lot of things there on your notes that you want to cover, so I wanted to give you the chance to get back to your notes and what you wanted to cover.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, we can do the question and then I can get to the notes or whatever.
Sure. So Miriam, I do see now that you are unmuted. We're going to come back to you. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. This is just an adjunct thing. I want to tell Patrice, I am the Opera San Jose person. I would love to talk to you later, and maybe Lisa can help you and I exchange information.
Currently unmuted.
Sounds like a
Okay.
plan. Thank you.
I recognize your name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Thank you, Miriam. Farhang, go ahead with your question real quick, and then we'll let Mark get back to his presentation.
Sure. Very quickly. Mark, what is your hourly charge?
You know what? If you go to blindpianolessons.com or Piano Web, you fill out the contact, I'm happy to send you all the options.
Okay,
Okay.
so it's blindpianolessons.com.
Yes, lessons
And-
plural. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pardon,
I've got your name here, so I'll recognize you when you go there. I'll send you all the details of what, a lot of added value to the tuition. Yeah.
All right, so it's blindpianolessons.com, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and secondly, do you have any introductory lessons on your website?
Oh, good question. Yeah, if you go to, the best spot to reach or to view some introductory lessons would be to go to YouTube and type in, my YouTube channel is Piano Web Man, or my name, Piano Web Man. I have about 35 free for the viewing instructional videos on YouTube. But you can also go to, when you go to Blind Piano Lessons, I just posted, if you do the drop down menu titled Learning Resources, I just posted 5 songs that illustrate the way I teach via audio. You can click on the arrow, and also on Piano Web, you'll see a drop down called Learning Resources, pianoweb.com. That's my main site. Pianoweb.com, under Learning Resources, all kinds of information about triads with a video accompanying them.
So you mentioned
Wonderful.
pianowebman.com or just pianoweb.com?
Pianoweb.com is my main site.
Uh-huh.
But if you want to go to YouTube, then type in Piano Web Man. Just
Okay.
that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, Farhang. We're going to go ahead
Thank you
and take
very much, Brian. Thank you,
course.
Mark. Wonderful.
you.
I really
We'll
love the
take
music.
a quick break from questions to allow Mark to get back to his presentation. Thanks, Mark. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. So let me illustrate the circle of fifths, because Patricia brought that up, and it's really a big concept. Okay, so Bob, would you please give me the first chord, and I'll play Fly Me to the Moon, any chord.
How about the chord of G?
G, okay, so here comes a circle. G, I'm thinking G. C, G goes to C. goes to F, goes to B flat, goes to E flat. So that was 5 in a row, right? Now I've never played it in that key. I play it in a different key. Okay, so that's the power of the circle of fifths. Okay, give me another starting chord, please. I'll play Arthur's theme.
How about D?
D. Okay, here we go. D is going to be here. D starts with that. D. There we go. D. Again, I'm thinking bead. So D. It's going to go to G, girl. G goes to C, to F, B flat. Right? Another 5 chords in a row. So you say, well, Mark, the whole song is not circle. No, the whole song is not circle. But there's only 3 spots in the entire song where it doesn't move by circle. I can remember 3 spots where it changes. I cannot remember 20 seemingly arbitrary chords, but they're not arbitrary. They're the circle of fifths. And it's in every song. Billy Joel, Elton John, Chopin, Bach, any Western civilization music, right? So you wonder, I wonder, why didn't I learn that? I had lessons from, age 6 to 16. My first recital of 16 measures, I fell on my face. I was crying. This was terrible. No one, and I learned chords with my first, teacher, the second teacher, not my jazz teacher, but a little bit of chords. And so, not to be totally egomaniacal, but it's all about the teacher. I mean, there's good teachers, there's very good teachers, there's excellent teachers, right? And some of the best players can't necessarily teach, blah, 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 blah. So I feel like I offer the performance side because I perform a lot in Chicago, but also the practical concepts / chord-based lessons. So thank you for picking chords I knew. Just kidding. Right. So yeah. So, and thank you, Patricia, for bringing up the circle of fifths. So yeah, it's interesting. I like the questions because I don't have that perspective of, wait a minute, there's 88 notes. I mean, yeah, but there's only 12 different ones, right? So I like the questions because it makes me think outside the box, right? So let me go back to the another one of the progressions. Circle of fifths is a big one. We've talked about that now. Drop the pinky, that's huge, right? The 2-5-1 is another progression. Okay, so for example, not to get too specific, but if I'm in the key of C, the second note is D, so that's the 2 chord. And the 5 chord is built on G, girl, and goes to 1. Okay, that is the most common chord progression. Every single song in the world has that chord progression. So if I were to do, let's say, Satin Doll by Duke Ellington, this is a 2 chord, the 5 chord. Now go up a whole step and do the same progression, 2-5. Here's another 2-5, another 2-5, 2-5, and the bridge is all 2-5. Yeah, go up a whole step, do it again. 2-5. Right, so if I'm reinforcing teaching the 2-5 progression, that's a song that I'm going to present to the student. Right, here's another one, Sunny Gets Blue. This is 2. This is 2, that was 2-5. 2, 5. Okay, so it's a whole new way of looking at the piano. It's not letters, it's really what Roman numeral or what number in the scale are we? And if it's 1, it's going to be a major chord. If it's 2, it's going to be minor. That's true. That's a concept. That's true throughout any major key. So no matter what key I'm in, the 2, 3, and 6 chords will be minor. Well, if I know that, and I can picture in my mind's eye or see the scale, the notes of the respective major scale, then I can pick out the 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. Okay, and then here's 30,000 songs that use that. Right? Let me see if I can play another one. Does anyone recognize that?
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy. That's 1625. Right? The most popular TV show probably in decades. Right? So it's very, let me think of another one. 1625. So again, understanding these patterns takes your playing to a whole new level. You're thinking about the piano conceptually, intellectually, not put your finger here, play a dot on the page. Okay, so that's really the way to memorize quickly, to play in different keys, to keep your interest, play songs quickly, right? Chords and concepts. And that is my shtick, and I'm sticking with it. Yeah. So I don't know how many of you have played classically out there, but again, I love the classics now, but I look at them and go, oh, Chopin's doing the circle of fifths right here, right? Or this is, right? Now this is an A chord coming up. A goes to D. Now this is A flat 7. Well, A flat 7 always goes to D flat, right? I know that. So certain chords absolutely resolve to other chords. And knowing that, that gives me the next chord without having to go, I played it 100,000 times. Well, that's rote, and that will go away, right? Right. To go deeper on that a little bit, the 5 chord is typically dominant. I know this is beyond some of you, but basically if I hit a dominant chord, I know the next chord will always be down 5 letter names. So if I'm playing Happy Birthday and I have the first chord is a C chord, well, there's a chord that always resolves to C, right? It's called G dominant 7. So if I know that, I can precede this C major with G dominant 7, right? That chord must go there, okay? And that gets into jazz arranging. It's basically saying, I know I want this chord, C major 7, some type of C major, could be a triad, doesn't matter. What chord demands resolution to that? Because I know this one's the one I want. Well, up a 5th dominant. So here we go. Now, the next chord I'm going to play is G. Well, up a 5th from G is D. The next chord I'm going to play is D minor. Up a 5th is an A. Okay, so after we get beyond, hey, these are the notes of these chords, the really exciting part for me is to teach students how to arrange, how to add color, 7s, 9s, 11s, 13s, walking bass lines, chromatic dominance, all these wonderful creative aspects of playing songs. When I play Misty, right, this is my arrangement. Someone comes up to the piano, that's pretty, well, I have that satisfaction of knowing this is not Dan Coates, it's not Hal Leonard, it's the way I heard it. And that can all be taught. I think a lot of people think, oh, you play jazz, or you play by ear. Well, no, there's rules. You can add a 9th. I know I'm kind of going beyond here, but just in general, you can add a 9th to an E minor chord. You can add a sharp 11 to a dominant, right? Most people would play the song like this. But listen to this, right? Very modern sound. Lots of color. Right? That can all be taught. That, at least from my instance, that's not so much by ear, that's by theory. I know this chord can go here, and I know this chord can go here. Okay, so there are rules, and you learn the rules, and then you maybe bend them a little bit, but you have to know certain chords go to certain chords. And so if I'm doing Alfie, let's say, second chord, there was a D minor. What's it? Everyone plays a form of D minor. Well, I want to put a chord in between the first chord and the D minor. So I'm thinking, well, what's the chord that must resolve to D minor? Well, up a 5th to A. So let's see how that sounds. What's it all about? Ah, that sounds very good. So that's a large part of arranging, jazz arranging, popular song arranging, right? You have a chord that is known to be correct. That's what I call a target chord. You're gonna play D minor. Everyone plays D minor there. But is there something I can insert, you know, before that to give me more harmony? So there's the element of, I'm writing a book. One of the chapters is chord coloring, where we add color notes, 9s, 11s, 13s to existing chords. Then the second chapter is chord insertion, where you put a chord in between two known familiar chords. And then the third chapter is chord substitution. So yes, there's a fair amount of ear involved, but there's more theory to it than really ear. It's more about, wow, there's actually certain chords in music that go to other chords always. Wow, that would be pretty important if you're trying to memorize, right? Or if you're trying to compose or arrange, right? So I don't know if there's any more questions out there, but thank you for
I think,
monitoring those, Ryan. Thank you.
yeah, of course. My pleasure, Mark. Dean, did I see that you had your hand raised up a few minutes ago and then lowered it again? I wanted to give you an opportunity if you did still
I have a question. I do have a question. So okay, so you were saying these keyboard like Casio, which I have one, I also have piano. So is your lesson mostly for the keyboard or for the piano? Because they're different. The keyboard is smaller.
Are you asking which one is it's better to play on or teach?
No, which one are you teaching on?
Oh, which one am I teaching on? Thank you. Because my Mac desktop is down here in my studio, I teach off of the Casio. I also teach off of my higher end Yamaha. But you know, in-house students, I teach off the acoustic Baby Grand upstairs. So yeah, it just depends on where I'm at. But yeah, most of my Skype and telephone and blind visually impaired, I'm down here in my studio simply because my computers are down here. Yeah.
So you teach Casio most of the time, right? So what if you want to learn the piano? What do you do? Because there's more key in the piano.
That's true. That's true. And teaching for 40 years, I don't think I've never taught any notes above C2. Okay. And if you're going to study classically, there's very few pieces that go above that. What I'm trying to say is you can teach everything I teach, I can teach on a 61 note. Okay. Rarely do I ever in 40 years play above C3 unless I'm ending a song.
So as long as you have that Casio, it's fine for most, about 90% of the song you're gonna teach or play, right? So
absolutely.
Okay, just want to
yeah. No, thank you for that question. When I go on a gig, I bring my 61 note key, and I'm fine. I'm totally fine. You really don't need 88.
Oh, and then what's the site to get is there a site to look for these Casio keyboards?
I would assume Casio has their own site. They're a big manufacturer. Costco, if you remember Costco or someone you know who remember Costco, I think they sell some keyboards. I just learned recently they're the largest seller of acoustic pianos. What kind of acoustic piano do you have? I'm just curious.
I have a large, not the grand one, but those long ones. So I think it's a big the long ones.
The tall upright.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also have a keyboard, but I can't find my keyboard. So the keyboards, but that's mostly electronic, right? So does it make a difference, keyboard?
No, it really doesn't. If your keyboard, whatever your keyboard is, if it's not weighted keys, some perfectionists might say, that's not really the same feel as a piano. But we're not really talking about, feel. We're talking about being able to understand and play chords. So all of my keyboards that go with me to gigs are all unweighted keys, light, 61 note, built-in speaker, etc. So I wouldn't get too bogged down with whether you practice or play on an acoustic versus a keyboard. For teaching, it doesn't matter, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Mark, we're gonna need to start wrapping things up here. Could you let everyone know how to get in contact with you?
Thank you. Yeah, you can text or call me on my cell phone number, which is on all of my sites. Please don't hesitate to text or call me. I love talking with people and learning their stories, seeing how I can help them. The newest site I have is blindpianolessons.com. And I must say, in 25 years of the internet, I cannot believe that was available. And I feel like that's providence. So blindpianolessons.com. I also teach one-handed students. This is my right hand only. Right. There's 800,000 people who have a stroke a year. Some of them lose the use of one hand. So that's one-handedpianolessons.com. But the main site is Piano Web, and that's again referenced on the other two sites, pianoweb, one word, Lots of videos on there to view, lots of video testimonials from blind students to one-handed students to et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, lastly, they did a survey of adults in America and they asked them what one thing they always wanted to do. And they didn't say sports, theater, music. Number one answer, play the piano. So, you know, there's a lot of pianos and keyboards sitting out there. And hopefully I can get people to play them and enjoy them.
Well, Mark, I'd like to go ahead and raffle off your generous
Sorry,
offer.
yeah, I lost the connection. Can you say that again?
I wanted to go ahead and raffle off your 3 1 hour lessons now. And
Oh, good. Can I be in the pool?
no, I actually went to the spreadsheet and I believe I took all the staff and volunteers off. And so if I could get both Ryan to give me a hand here and Mark. So there's 30 people that are on the registration list, but I think there was like 24. I'm not sure how many's in attendance right now. But Mark, if you could pick 3 numbers between 1 and 30, and we'll do them one at a time. And I'll call out the name, and then Ryan, if you could check to see if that person's present or not, and then we'll go from there. So
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I got it.
So first one, pick a number between 1 and 31.
1 and 31. Thank you. I understand now. So 131 registered, but they have to be here now in order to get it. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to pick the number 7 first.
Farhang. And we know Farhang's here. So
oh yeah.
So I will what I will do is I will actually send to Mark Farhang and the other winners. I'll send to Mark their emails so that you can be in contact that way.
Great.
And so congratulations, Farhang. And actually, let me ask, Farhang, do you want the 1 hour lesson? I'm not sure that everybody on here wants the actual lesson, so I want to confirm that you would take advantage of it.
Farhang, you're muted, buddy.
Second.
There you go.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, bud.
Oh, of course I want the 1 hour lesson.
Yay.
Okay. Well, I'll put you in contact with Mark. I'll send him your information.
Thank you very much.
Second number, Mark.
I'm gonna go with 21.
21. We go down to David Hoffman. David, I know you were with us. Are you still here?
I don't know if he still is. Let me see. Yes, David is here.
And David, are you interested in the 1 hour lesson? Would you use it? Would you take advantage of it?
He is working on unmuting.
Yeah, let me just say this. If I may interrupt.
Sure.
If someone has won, like David, and doesn't necessarily have a keyboard, I'm happy to transfer that to any relative or friend that has always wanted to play. Just throw it out there.
Great, that's very nice.
Give it to me.
Give it to me. I just got you. Sorry.
David.
Farhang.
David, can you unmute yourself?
Still working on it. Why don't we do the next one and then we'll confirm after that with David.
So
okay,
a third number.
Yes, please. Let's do 11.
11. Sherry Wu. Congratulations,
I believe
Sherry.
she's still here. Yeah, she is here.
And
Thank
Sherry,
you so much.
Okay,
and
you're interested.
congratulations, Sherry.
Great.
Wow.
Okay, well
Very cool.
Let's assume David is interested in it, and I'll send you all 3 of their contact information.
Okay.
And if for some reason you don't hear from David, you could let me know, and we could always pick somebody else off.
Bob, why don't you do this? Why don't you pick a number just in case David's not there, and then that person, and then if David's not there, just use that number. Thank you.
That's a good idea. So one more number.
Okay, that's a great idea, I think. Yeah. Let's do 20.
20 is Donna Sanchez. Donna, are you with us?
Back up.
Donna's here, yes.
Okay, so
we're gonna mute everyone, okay?
So you're a backup, Donna. If David can't take the lesson or doesn't want the lesson, then you'll be the winner of that lesson.
I'm not interested. Thank you very much, though.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Donna, for speaking up. One
Mhm.
more number then. Or you
Perfect.
could give that away if you wanted to, Donna. You could give it to a family member or something.
I really don't know who would want it. I'd rather
Okay.
have somebody in our community get it.
Okay.
Got it.
Take another
Okay.
number, Mark.
Sure. How about 4?
4. We have Kit. Kit, are you interested in the free
Kit
lesson?
is still here. She's working on unmuting.
Yes,
There she
I'm
is.
very, hello, this is a kid. I'm very interested.
Okay.
Yay,
Well,
okay.
well, you're our runner-up. If David Hoffman doesn't take it, then you're like runner-up. So you're standing
I
in the
was-
wings, ready to go.
I was hoping you'll pick my name first time, but anyway.
Well, I'm sorry we didn't get you first.
Well, just remember, Kit, you do get a free 30-minute lesson, 30-minute consultation. And I'm a pretty generous person. If you're serious, I'll give you a little more time. So
I'm very serious. Thank you.
Great.
David,
welcome.
David has raised his hand. I think that he's able to unmute now. Go
Hi.
ahead, David.
Sorry, I had a phone call at 11 I had to attend to, but I'm back. I never win anything.
Yay.
I am definitely interested, except I do not have a keyboard. So
Well, basically, there's no time limit. I mean, if you email me in 3 months or in 3 weeks and say, you know what, you won on the Tech It Out, I'll honor that. But if you don't want to do that, then we should probably pick another number. Or transfer it to a relative. I mean, someone's got to want to play the piano. Always wanted to play, but maybe not. Whatever.
yeah, I have to. I'm not working right now, so I have to see my budget for purchasing a keyboard. So if I can just have a little bit of time to think about it.
Sure.
No worries.
David, when you do get back, if you would please get back to Mark, and again, I'll send Mark everybody's contact information. And if you decide not to use it, please let Mark know, and then Mark could go on to Kim. So, well, thank you, Mark, so much.
Question. Bob, can I ask a couple of short questions?
Go right ahead. Well, no, it's up to Bob.
Okay, is that 1 hour over and above the 30-minute free consultation?
Well, that's a fantastic question. I'm going to say no. An hour of my time is valuable. I'll say an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
second question, you mentioned the Casio WK3300. What brand of Yamaha you would recommend?
Ooh, that's a good one. The one I have, like I said, is my pride and joy. I can't honestly give you a model number on the Yamaha. I'm sorry, but they have so many from $100 to $5,000. So.
Okay. All right. That's all. Thank you very much, Bob. Thank you very much, Mark. Wonderful
Thank you.
music.
Sure, thank you,
Thank
Mark.
Thanks,
thank you.
Farhang.
Mark,
Thank
thank
you,
you
Ryan.
so
Thank
much
you,
for your
Lisa.
time today. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us here on Check It Out with Vista. I think it was a great, fun day, and
Thank you.
learning piano and listening to you play. That was great. And
No, I really appreciate the opportunity, Bob. A fantastic group of people, and Check It Out. I love that. That's very catchy. So thank
Well,
you,
and-
Lisa
and-
and Ryan and Bob. Thank you
and
all.
maybe you could take us out with some boogie woogie.
Whoa. All right, hold
I
on.
really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I really appreciate everybody being with us. And I really appreciate all of the new first-time people who have joined on with us today.
Thanks, everybody. I had a great time.
That's really good. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
everybody have a great day, and have a good Labor Day weekend. And we'll see you all in person on October 7th at the San Jose Vista Center. And we'll learn about the Amazon tablet. So thank you, everybody, and Have a good weekend. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Pause recording.
It was great.
Hold on just a second, Lisa. I'm trying to stop the
Bob?
recording. Just 1 second. I'm trying to stop the recording.